What's up guys, D2 from DTwoAOV.com here with an announcement that the 2019 Arena of Valor World Cup, otherwise known as the AWC, is coming to you at the end of June into the middle of July. It's $500,000 USD, and it's going to be 12 teams from 9 regions competing for that money. If you just want to read this article, go to DTwoAOV.com. I'm going to go over it just really quickly here and also provide some of my opinions on these matters because I didn't really want to put some of my opinions in this particular article, but you will hear them here. So, like I mentioned, it's going to be 12 teams vying for that $500,000. It's going to be in Da Nang, Vietnam. So, last time at the AIC, I believe it was split up between Vietnam and Thailand. This time the entire thing is going to be in Vietnam. And I haven't heard this officially, but I've heard that the group stage is going to be June 27th through 30th. And then the quarterfinals will be the first weekend of July. And then the rest of the tournament will be the second weekend of July, but don't take my word for that. That's what I've heard, though. In any case, let's get to the participating regions. It's going to be most of the usual suspects. It's going to be Vietnam with 2, Thailand with 2, Chinese Taipei or Taiwan with 2, Indonesia with 1, Malaysia representing Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines is going to get 1, Japan, a newcomer, gets 1, and then Korea, North America, who is representing North America, South America, and Europe this time. And finally, obviously, it's going to be mainland China. Now, this is very interesting because I'm a little bit opposed to these selections. I'm going to say my opinion here, not in the article. I live in Japan, first of all, and yet I think it's really strange that Japan suddenly has a wild cards or one of these spots, even though India doesn't for some reason, and they don't give a separate spot for South America for Europe. I think that Europe and South America are better than Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, and maybe even Korea, because you don't know what's going to happen with Korea. If you guys didn't know, obviously some people may be listening to this and thinking, like, didn't Korea win the AWC last year? Didn't they come in, third at the AIC? It's like, yeah, but their team is completely split up. One of the teams that qualified is from TDC, and they have 2 Koreans on it. So I think all you need to do is have 3 members from your participating country. I think that Sun and Jae-jak will play for Team Thailand on TDC. So that means that the Korean qualifier is going to be very interesting. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but the point is, I think that if this were AIC, I can see them restricting the amount of countries and or teams, but because this is the World Cup, I feel like you should get as many countries in there as possible, or at least try to get as much representation as possible. I honestly am very scared for Japan, because I was watching the VODs of their qualifier, and it very much looked like, mid-masters or even low-master solo queue on other servers. Not to mention that they have 20 fewer heroes than North America at the moment, so that is problematic. As far as the teams getting 2, at this point, Vietnam, in the AIC, Vietnam getting 3 was kind of weird, but Vietnam getting 2, Thailand getting 2, and Chinese Taipei getting 2, not so strange. They are arguably the 3 juggernauts of AOV. You can certainly say that about Thailand and Taiwan, or Taipei. Vietnam, they did really well at the last AIC, and they're the host team, so I really have no problem with that. So no problem with the teams, or excuse me, the regions that are getting 2 teams to participate. So let's go to the prize pool breakdown. And I really like the way that they broke this down because, for instance, the RPL, the ROV Pro League, which is the Thai league, they just had a massive amount of money go to the first place team and like nothing for anyone else. And it was kind of ridiculous. I think this is a good breakdown of, if you get first, you get a ton of money, but there's still a decent amount spread out for everyone else. It's not like all or nothing, but it's also not like, oh, I won, but I barely got any more than the second place team, right? I think it's a decent chunk. You get 40% of the total prize pool. You know, and everyone goes away happy, except for potentially 9th through 12th place. If you add all these numbers up, they total exactly $500,000. So does that mean that 9th through 12th gets 0? Is there a separate prize pool for 9th through 12th? I know, for instance, that I don't think Japan got any prize pool. I think that Malaysia, the M8 Hexa team from Malaysia, barely got anything either. So if you just qualify for the group stage and you get knocked out in the group stage, it could be very sad for you, since you didn't get any money potentially at the AWC. There might be separate money for those teams, but we'll have to find out. So next thing is that the global ban pick mode will be implemented. This was already mentioned. I believe most people should probably already know this, but if you don't, it's pretty simple. If you've picked a hero already, then you cannot pick them in your games afterwards. Now, there was a little bit of confusion. It's not that any hero who was picked in the first game is restricted from there on out. It's only the heroes that you pick. So you could theoretically have all the same heroes in game 1 and game 2, except they'd have to be flipped as far as which team plays them. And I really like that. It's not. Honestly, there's been mixed feelings about this, but I think after thinking about it for a while, I like it, because you can't just go in and be like a one trick and just be good at one hero the entire time, which we've seen in the past from professional teams where they have like one weak point on their team and that guy just plays the same hero every single time. You need to be versatile. You need to play multiple heroes. And it also makes the ban pick phase just so much more complicated, and so much of 3D chess going through the ban pick phase and making sure that you do extensive scouting on your opponents to make sure that you can make the best out of it. One thing that should be mentioned: if there's a potential game 7, then everything is reset and anyone can pick anything, which I like as well. So basically, it really tests your limits as far as how good you are with like an extensive pool of heroes. But it also means that if it comes down to a game 7, you're not stuck with some random hero because all of them are already taken away. If it does come down to it, if it does come down to all the marbles, then both teams will have the full roster of heroes to choose from, and then we can see who is the best of the best. So that's really cool. I believe that if the series is a best of 5, for instance, if it's like earlier rounds, then I think the 5th game does not get reset. And the reason why I think that's because in the GCS, there have already been games played under the new global BP system. And by the way, you can go to my site and click on Pro VODs to see all those Pro VODs, to go check out the GCS and see how that works and what it feels like. But there were a couple of series that went to game 5 and they were not reset. So I imagine it's going to be the same thing at the AWC, that they will not reset the heroes if it is only a best of 5 series, even though it would be the deciding game. Okay, let's go to the participating teams. Here is a picture of Malaysia's team, M8 Hexa, and they just recently won one of the competitions at the C Esports title tournament thingy. I believe that was in the Philippines, actually. In any case, these are the qualified teams so far. 6 teams have qualified through their various qualifications. Blue Martini through the Valor series, TDC through the ROV Pro League, M8 Hexa through the Valor Cup, Blizzard from the Japan qualifier, Team Flash from Arena of Glory. Now, Team Flash, they haven't actually played the playoffs yet, or they played the quarterfinals the other day, but Team Flash haven't played in the playoffs yet. But because they won the regular season, they're automatically slotted into the finals. And the top 2 teams in Arena of Glory go to the AWC from Vietnam. And so that means that even if Team Flash lose in the finals, they're still going to go. So they're already qualified, even though the Arena of Glory hasn't finished quite yet. Evos from Indonesia comes from the AOV Star League Season 2. Season 2 was very strange. I'm getting off another tangent here, but Season 2 was weird because it was like halfway done when the AIC started, and then they resumed again, and then the winner of that is now qualified for this, but now they're qualifying already for the ASL Season 3. And then there was another like Indonesia Esports League. I'm just so confused about what's going on. I guess Indonesia doesn't care about the AIC and AWC. They're like, well, we'll hold our tournaments when we want, and then we'll decide who qualifies for everything. Thailand has a separate road to AWC for their second qualifier. Korea, they've announced their qualifying thing. And for Taiwan / Chinese Taipei, they have one of their qualifiers to the GCS, but the other one is to be decided. Now, if you want to watch all of these tournaments that decide a lot of these teams going to the AWC, they're almost all going to be on May 25th. So grab your popcorn, because May 25th is going to be a banger of a day if you are into Arena Valor esports. And we had this last thing in the press release that they sent to me. Basically, they destroyed records. And in the as far as viewership is concerned, if you look at it, like people think there's some people where like Mobile Legends, for instance, or I don't know, whatever games there are for mobile is bigger than AOV. But just globally, if you take into account, how big it is in like Southeast Asia in particular, Vietnam and Thailand and even like Taiwan, it just really blows everything out of the water. The number is absolutely huge. I encourage you to click on this link, because it shows how ridiculous it can be. Okay, those are my thoughts on the AWC. Short little video for you guys. I'll be back with predictions once we have all the teams, and we'll talk about that at a later date. But thank you again for watching. Make sure you go to DTwoAOV.com. Make sure you click subscribe and the little bell thingy button. I don't know how YouTube works, but subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.